Hi. I have gotten a couple of questions about writing your This I Believe rough draft for this week. So I wanted to take a moment to go through the model and maybe answer any questions that you might have. I know that sometimes getting started can be pretty difficult, so hopefully maybe this helps. So you'll notice in the lesson 2, This I Believe Getting Started assignment, I have already recorded a video of me reading out this content page, but I went ahead and at the bottom, I added a model of my This I Believe essay to get started. So I'm going to write along with you for this assignment. And so if you'll notice in the directions, the assignment asks you to come up with a statement, a This I Believe statement. It needs to be phrased positively. Then you need to identify probably 3 experiences that influenced or shaped or were the genesis for this I Believe statement, and then a rough outline of your essay. So what I did was I just kind of wrote one along with you to kind of make it a little bit easier for you to see what I was looking for. So a couple of questions that I've gotten about this assignment is one of them was asking about the directions indicating that you wanted to write it positively. That doesn't mean that the experiences that shaped the essay have to be positive. So, for example, the experiences might be negative. We're going to read later in this semester a This I Believe statement by a mother whose daughter overdosed. And so while the experiences weren't pleasant, they did lead her to a greater understanding. We're going to read another essay about a young man's suicide and what that did to his family. And while that experience is overwhelmingly negative, there is a positive statement that came out of it. And so rather than saying, this is what I don't believe or this is what I don't think is important, you want to phrase it as this is what I believe, this is what I hold to be true for myself. So in my essay, I'm focusing on kind of this mantra that I have. I say this all the time. You'll probably get an email from me and I'll say it in an email to you. I have several kind of go-to phrases that are kind of the things that I think about in my head often. And one of them is that we are all doing the best we can. And I use that a lot in my own teaching, in my own approach to my job as an administrator, is that I try to remember that other people and myself, we are all doing the best we can. So that's my This I Believe statement. The experiences that I've had from this, I shared a little bit of those. One of them would be, focusing on my father in 1994. Another one would be my father in 2015. And then my own experiences with mental health in 2018. And I put in there those kind of meta text tags right here, explain in good sentences. I often, when I'm writing, and I do a lot of writing in my job, some of it creative, some of it for academic purposes, like articles. Others I write for work. And I'm constantly leaving like meta tags to myself. It can feel sometimes overwhelming to write. It feels like you have to get it all down on paper, and the first way it gets down has to be the best way. But that's really not true. At least it's not for me. What works for me is to kind of jot down some ideas, leave some notes to myself about where I need to work on, and then I'll come back the next day and I'll work on that area. Or I'll come back next week and work on one piece of that. It's easier for me to manage writing assignments if I break them down into smaller parts, right? There's a saying that, if you want to eat an elephant, you sometimes just have to take it one bite at a time. And it's the same thing with writing. So I left meta tag to myself, explain in more good sentences. And that's not super fancy. It doesn't have to be. That's just me telling myself, yeah, you have to come back and do this better next week, which is fine. I'll do that next week. But my rough outline. So kind of brainstorming my introduction, would be maybe starting therapy and how it reaffirmed that we're all doing the best we can, my dad and myself included. My dad was complicated and he was not always a very good parent. He had a lot of anger issues. He had PTSD and anxiety, and it made him really challenging to live with and as an adult. But I've learned over the years that he was doing the best he could with the few resources that he had. And I've been going to therapy now for 2 years to address my own anxiety and depression. And I can see that now in reflection, that he and I are both doing the best we can, or he was doing the best he could. And so, I left a note to myself, you have to revise this into better sentences. And I don't really worry so much about that when I'm drafting. So I just wanted you to see that what you turned in for this week doesn't have to be especially good. Often good writing doesn't start good. It starts really, really bad. Annie Lamott has an essay called Shitty First Drafts. And, pardon my French, but that's what the essay is called, because a lot of times we write really bad, rough drafts. But it's just to get it on paper, and then you go back later and revise it. And that's what we're doing this semester, is we're going to tackle writing assignments each week. And you'll just have to write a little bit at a time so that you can go back and revise it and make it a little bit better the next week. So for this week, it's just a really rough draft. My, This I Believe essay would have an introduction, probably have a body paragraph with experience 1 and 2, which is about my dad, and then a body paragraph that would have experience 3, and then a conclusion. And it may not be any more than just, I believe we're all doing the best we can. I'll figure it out once I start writing. But I wanted to kind of show you, what, my rough draft will look like. We're not going to share this I Believe essays outside of this class. We will read them as part of lesson 4 rough draft review, and you might read other people's. And so if you don't feel comfortable sharing something especially personal, you don't have to. You can focus your essay someplace else. I'm not going to, come back to you and say, is this exactly, the best This I Believe essay you could write right now? I'm not going to know if you left details out. I've been going back and forth about how much I wanted to share with the class, just because it's personal, but part of my work and part of what I'm talking about in my This I Believe essay is, working to destigmatize mental health. And so I went back and forth about whether I wanted to share this with everybody. And I just kind of decided that I'm going to take a leap of faith and I'm going to share that with you. But that doesn't mean that you have to. You don't have to share anything you don't feel comfortable with. I don't want anybody to feel like they have to kind of dig out their trauma and, lay it bare for the whole class to look at. I thought about writing a This I Believe from, another perspective. In regard to we're all doing the best we can. I have an autistic son, and, a lot of times some of the things that we do in raising an autistic child is, it's about just doing the best we can. And so my point being is that you decide what you feel comfortable with, and you decide what you share and what you don't. That's your call. All right. So that's kind of just to give you some ideas. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I am online. I check email every single morning. I don't usually get to it till about noon or so, but I check email. I'm also available to you online. We can meet in WebEx for a video conference. We can talk on the phone. I'm always available between 10 and 12 for you, Monday through Thursday. I'm also available on Monday nights from 6 to 7, but I also answer email pretty regularly. You can feel free to text me. I left my cell phone number on the course homepage. I am not very good at talking on the phone. It's just not something I'm a 21st century non-millennial, but just like you young people out there, I'm not very good at talking on the phone. I don't particularly enjoy it, but I am good at texting. And so if you want to send me a text, I'll be happy to respond and answer them pretty quickly. All right. I hope you have a great, great day.